The land of Calradia is rife with crime, from caravans being hit by raiders daily and butter being stolen from the farmers. The men responsible for most of these crimes are bandits, no good scum who prey on the weak and run from the strong. The way they stay alive on this continent of well-trained soldiers and mad lords is by adapting to their surroundings and having unique tactics based on their skill set. Let's take a look at each one of them. First up are the looters. Looters are at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to bandits. They are poorly armed and weak in skill. They can be found pretty much everywhere in Bannerlord, from the snowy shores to the desert in the south. The only people these poor pricks can pick on is villagers and new players not knowing how to fight. They come equipped with low armour rags that barely protect against the wind, and a multitude of low-end weapons such as hoes, pickaxes and low-end blades. The looter is the only unit type of this bandit faction, so their only use is to level them up to Imperial Infantry using the Veterans Respect perk from the leadership tree. The strategy I would use against the looters is range troops, as their armour cannot defend against arrows, and it's best to avoid being near them. Not because they're skilled warriors, but because they reek of shit. Coming out of the trees like a couple of Vietnamese, the forest bandits are next. You might think that you've taken on a couple of looters and you're ready for their foresty friends. I'm here to tell you that that is a very bad idea. These bandits employ ranged attacks using longbows and barbed arrows. Any new player looking for rewards and glory will be confused when an arrow snipes them off their horse before they can say the words, "Is someone in that bush?" The forest bandits, like their name, tend to stay in the wooded areas of the map, mainly in Battanian territory, as they can be upgraded to Battanian Fiends with the Veterans Respect perk. There are 3 different troop types of forest bandit. The lowest tier troop is the bushwhacker. These archers have low tier armour and only a one-handed sword as a backup weapon. The real benefit though is, unlike most other archers, bushwhackers have 2 lots of arrows to work with, giving them an edge on other starting archer troops for a total of 57 arrows for each unit. For only 3 dinars a day, this is a very good unit. Levelling up from the bushwhacker is a freebooter. Not only has he got himself some better armour and some better stats, the freebooter also has a ranger longbow for increased distance and 2 sets of barbed arrows for additional pace damage. You could do a lot worse than a hooded menace who can hit you from a mile off. Finally, we get to the aptly named Forest Bandit. These units are feared archers. Having a bow skill of 150, they are only rivaled by Battanian Fiends, using the same bow as them as well. Having a couple of these boys in your army will be a sound investment, as they have taken down many lords and top tier troops with ease. I would recommend using shield infantry to fight these guys, because once you close the distance, they're pretty much just armoured looters. Hailing from the mountains of Calradia, the mountain bandits are up next. These highland devils are trained in the art of throwing rocks at you and then punching you with a sword. These bandits can be found in the Empire regions of the game, mainly near the mountains, hence their name. These bandits are specialists in throwing weapons and hit and run tactics. The infantry units of this faction come equipped with stones and javelins to pellet enemies from a distance and then finish them off in melee combat, making them a fierce opponent. While the cavalry bandits of the faction will lob javelins at your men and ride away, wait until they're out of ammo to then devastate your units with vicious polearm attacks from a horse. The 3 units of this faction are as follows. Hillmen, nearly naked infantry who will throw rocks at your units and soak up damage. They are very similar to looters and with only slightly better stats. Next are the brigands, more armoured than the hillmen, who come equipped with a wooden shield and javelins, which turns a naked lunatic into a less naked lunatic. Their shields are easily broken, but getting to them unharmed is a challenge. Lastly is the highwayman, which is a brigand of a horse. Now turned into a skirmish cavalry unit, they are very tricky to deal with as they can hit you without endangering themselves. The Veterans Respect perk will turn the highwayman into a Vlandian Banner Knight, which is an extremely overpowered upgrade, as the Banner Knights are the best cavalry units in the game. I recommend fighting these units with a height advantage, such as a hill, so the thrown weapons do less damage and the cavalry slowing down due to moving up the hill. Sailing from the northern shores, the Sea Raiders are next. Mainly inhabiting the snowy parts of the map, Sea Raiders are heavy shielded infantry that utilise throwing weapons and deadly melee attacks to smash ground troops into the floor. Unlike mountain bandits, the Sea Raiders specialise in melee combat, wearing heavy armour and wielding round shields and axes to demolish the first thing they see. The Sea Raiders truly are a menace to deal with. The standard Sea Raider is a light armoured infantry unit who can spawn in with a shield, polearm and throwing spears. Even the weakest unit of the Sea Raider faction has a terrifying weapon loadout for enemies. A tier up from the Sea Raider is the Sea Raider Warrior. These troops are guaranteed to spawn with throwing weapons, with a chance to also wear a tier 6 helmet as well. Making headshots a no-go for these bandits. The real terror though is the Sea Raider Chief. Wearing bearskin and a badass beard, these tanks have over level 150 one-handed skill, which after pairing up with heavy armour and top tier axes, these bandits prove themselves as elite infantry, being able to hang with the likes of legionaries and Vlandian sergeants alike. The strategy I would use against these tanks in the snow is splitting them up with skirmish cavalry and then picking them off in small groups at a time. Think of them as zombies. A couple of them you can take on, but a horde of them is pretty much unstoppable. Trotting along from the sand plains in the east are the steppe bandits. And no, not the stuck in a washing machine kind, the horsey McShooty kind. Do you hate going against archers, having to rush them straight away before they all snipe off your crew before you can kill them with your swords and axes? Well, here's a nice fuck you to your infantry, because now archers have horses. These sandy shitheads employ hit and run tactics by riding in a so-called death circle while shooting you with arrows and keeping their distance on horseback. They are mainly found in the Khazate territory, but good luck catching them as all units are on horseback, giving them incredible speeds way past 6 movement speed. The lowest tier steppe bandit is also named steppe bandit. It also comes equipped with a light armour and only a one-handed sword and polearm for deadly hit and run attacks, making them irritating to deal with, and if you're found with low level infantry troops. Stepping up from that, no pun intended, is the marauder. Keeping the polearm but also picking up some stronger armour and a bow makes this unit a nightmare for infantry. Horse archers are some of the strongest units you can face in Bannerlord, so knowing they're running around the map willy-nilly is a big pill to swallow. They also have around 30 arrows, so your only option is to try and take the fight to them, or shell up and wait until they're out of ammo. Either way, it's a nightmare. The top tier units of the steppe bandits is the raider. You're going to have a bad time with this guy, rocking 2 sets of arrows and top tier armour, and also with extremely fast horses. You better prepare before fighting an army of horse archers, especially raiders. These are the best mounted bandits in the game, as they have up to 60 arrows, not counting any perks from their leader, and a powerful polearm as backup. The best strategy I would use against horse archers is dependent on the units you have. With cavalry, full charger headers that don't have the best close-up weapons. If you have archers, get height superiority, as in most cases, the archers with high ground will have more success than the low ground archers. And with infantry, form a square formation and wait. Depending on the infantry you have, if they have good shields, you can wait for the arrows to run out and then wait until they charge the square and be ripped apart. Lastly, from the desert in the south, we have the desert bandits. Now you might think that I've saved the best for last here, but you'd be sorely mistaken. They specialise in skirmisher cavalry, but only with the highest troop tier having throwing weapons, making them glorified looters. The first troop of the desert bandits is the Bedouin Rover. Having weak armour, a polearm and a one-handed weapon, they aren't really any better than looters. At least the looters and hillmen get stones to throw to do a bit of damage before they get close, but these guys get jack. The one upside to them is that all rovers spawn with militia maces, making them good prisoner gatherers, but other than that, they're quite useless. Next up is the nomad bandit, which is just a rover with a horse. They're not much better, as they get slightly better armour and a Nahasawi horse, which makes them decent cavalry as they have a polearm, but other than that, they're still quite bad. The top tier troop though is the Harami, and this flips the problem, having a warhorse, heavy armour, a shield and a Jareed, which if you didn't know is the best throwing weapon in the game, doing a staggering 121 pace damage, which can one-shot most low tier troops. These are the only decent desert bandit, as these can actually dish out damage and look drippy, but other than that, they're not the best faction. The strategy I would take on with the desert bandits is quite simple. Square formation. Having horses and weak infantry getting trapped in a square of angry sex-deprived shock infantry is quite amusing to watch, and is extremely effective considering these bandits are lightly armoured for the most part. Now for my opinion on the best and worst of the bandits. I would heavily advise using the Sea Raiders, because having melee beasts with throwing weapons can never go wrong, which is what puts them as my personal favourite. The Forest Bandits though would be a close second, as they can hang with the best archers in the game, and some people prefer them to the Britannian Fiends as they are much cheaper, costing less than half for a similar skill. Other than looters, I would put the Desert Bandit at the bottom, as I think the other factions would easily beat them in warfare. They aren't very special, and really every other unit does their jobs better than them. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment if you have any thoughts on the video or questions about Bannerlord in general. And if you're wondering why I haven't uploaded in a while, I will leave a community post if you want to go check it out. Thanks, and remember to have a good one.